Hello everyone, my name is Phoebe Amaike and I'm your virtual lawyer. This is my second video on YouTube and it's true. The hardest video to record is usually the first video, so I think I'm a bit more relaxed now, and I'm hoping that as we progress on this journey that it will get easier. So today, because of the prevalence of this particular issue on social media and the fact that I also stand against it, I think it's befitting for me to talk about rape today. Rape has been a phenomenon that has been with us, but now because of awareness and people talking about issues, more and more people are able to come out and talk about their experiences. So I cannot, in fact, because of how extensive and the issue of rape is, and the fact that there are lots of gray lines surrounding issues concerning rape, so I cannot delve into it as I would as a lawyer, because there are lots of laws, there are a lot of regulations, there are a lot of factors that you have to consider. But I'll try to the best of my abilities to break it down and talk about the myths that are everywhere on social media, talk about some of the general tips that I think, even though it sounds ridiculous, some of the general safety tips that we can employ to protect ourselves from potential rapists. So I think a good point to start from is to define what rape is. But in order to define what rape is, you need to understand that rape does not stand on its own. It's a subset of sexual harassment. And sexual harassment, these are conducts that are of a sexual nature that are inappropriate. So somebody talks to you in an uncomfortable manner, in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable, that is sexual harassment. Somebody touches you in a way that is inappropriate, that is sexual harassment. So sexual harassment covers all kinds of sexual misconduct. It could be in the workplace, it could be in church, it could be at home, it could be anywhere. So you need to understand there's a difference between rape and sexual harassment. Rape comes under sexual harassment, and then under sexual harassment we have verbal abuse, and then we have assault. Verbal abuse incorporates everything that is said. Somebody calls you an ashawo, which is prostitutes in Nigerian parlance. That is sexual harassment. Somebody is talking about your figure or your body in a very descriptive manner, in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable. That is verbal abuse. But when we talk about assault, rather than just stop at saying something, it does something. So it's like an action. It could be direct and it could be indirect. It could be direct in that somebody actually just touches you. So in this part of the world, it happens a lot. When you're going to the market, somebody is dragging you by the hand, is dragging you by the waist, come and buy this, just touching you in very inappropriate manners. That is assault. Assault could also be where where somebody has an advantage over another person, and they may be threatened to do something if you don't return sexual favors, or coerces you into doing something, either by indirect influence or by force. So when we now come to rape is different from all these ones because there is actual penetration. I'm not going to define what penetration is, because you know what is penetrating what. But for rape, there is actual penetration. So anything that falls short of penetration cannot be termed rape. But once there is penetration involved, then that is rape. Rape, because of how pervasive and invasive it is, it damages the victim. It's an invasion of your own privacy. Every human being, by virtue of the fact that you are born, you are alive, you are well, you have the right to your own body. I mean, there are lots of things you don't have a right to. You don't have a right to a lot of things, but your own body, you have a right to it. So anybody who does anything to your body should be to your with to your own, should be with your own consent. Yes, that's the right word. Should be with your own consent. For instance, if somebody wanted to put a tattoo on your skin and did not seek your consent, I mean, that would be outrageous. That would be crazy. It's the same thing if somebody wants to have sexual pleasures with another person. It has to be with consent. Anything outside of that is rape. There are issues of, indirect or uninformed consent, or just some really silly things that people try to use to justify rape. How maybe a victim has given the perpetrator or the rapist the green light, and there's nothing like that. And this this leads me to the myths that surround rape. First and foremost, as a victim, it is never your fault that you were raped. Whether you're a male or you're a female, it is never your fault that you were raped. The responsibility, the fault, everything lies with the perpetrator, because you didn't give consent. For ladies, wearing a short skirt, what we term indecent dressing, is never consent for rape. So somebody came to your house, she's wearing a really micro mini skirt, and you term that consent. You're a rapist. In fact, people who are defending it, they are rapists. No, sorry, they are rape apologists. There's no justification for rape. There's no way you can whitewash it. No. So that's the first thing. Then the second thing is, a lot of people argue that why did you come out now? After 25 years, after 50 years, the person did it to you. Why are you coming out now when you see that the person has become popular, has become successful in life? Let me tell you, there is no time limit for you to come out. There is no time limit. I mean, it's something personal to you. It's you have the right to determine when you want to talk about your issues. Nobody can take that away from you. The only thing I would say is that as a victim, it is important, because of how our laws work, it is important to make sure that once that happens, once the incident or you are raped, once that happens, ensure that you get as much evidence as possible, because you know how it is difficult to prove the case of rape. It's now they dumb it down to he said, she said, your word against mine, and you don't want to be caught up in all of that. So the thing, what you should do immediately is make sure that you gather as much evidence as possible. Make sure you go to the hospital. You'll be given a rape kit. You should be given a rape kit, such that evidence of the rape can be gotten, so that whenever you intend to come out with your story, you have something to back up your story. Once it happens, I know it can be very difficult, because first of all, your privacy has been violently, or whichever way it has been violated, that is there. But you don't also want to shoot yourself in the leg and not gather as much evidence as possible. So go to the hospital immediately. Then you can go to the police station to register your complaint, because you're already armed with evidence. Then the third thing I would like us to note is that a lot of people believe that victims who come out with their stories do these things for clout. And I think that is a very insensitive thing to say, because rape as an occurrence, as a crime, is a very painful experience. I don't think people just go about sharing their painful experiences, on social media or with people or with the world. No, nobody does that. So why anybody would think that I will come and share a personal part of my life that, is painful, is traumatizing, just for the sake of getting clout, it's mind-boggling. I don't understand it. So, so there are some general safety tips that I'd like to drop. These are things that I personally just like to do, not because I think there's any justification for anybody being raped, or because I feel that the responsibility of not being raped is on me, but because we recognize that we're in a system that doesn't necessarily, encourage things to be done the right way. So you want to take extra care and be like 2 steps ahead, 10 steps ahead of the rapist. So like general tips that you just want to implement, these will include watching your drink. If you go to a party at whatever time of the day, morning, afternoon, night, please, even if it is tea that they served, even if it is water that you are served, don't leave it unattended. Don't leave it and then go and come back. No, don't do that, because you don't know who it is that has terrible intentions towards you, and you want to not put yourself in that kind of position where you can be taken advantage of. So please, if you go to any outing, party, meeting, whatever it is, don't leave your drinks unattended. And to add to that, you'd also want to, if you're going for a party, you'd also want to make sure that you're going with friends or people that you trust, people that just have your back, not people that will abscond on you or ditch you. No, you don't want to do that. Make sure you're not going alone. Is tough being vulnerable. Don't make yourself even more vulnerable by going to a party or an event on your own, especially when you're not in the midst of people that you know. Maybe you are doing mugbamuya or whatever the case may be. Make sure that you go in the company of people that you trust, that you know, and be careful what you eat. You know how food and drinks can be spiked, so you want to be very careful about what you eat and you drink, because you also know that there are some substances that can impair your ability to give consent. So be mindful of it. Like, you need to have it at the back of your mind that there are substances, both your drinks and in your food, that can compromise your will and your ability to give consent. So you want to take note of that. Then you also want to, you're going out and they come. Do you know if you're going to come back? You don't know. So wherever you're going to, even if you're going down the street, you want to go and meet an aboki and buy something there, let somebody know where you're going to. I mean, it goes without saying. It's just for security reasons. It's not even about that, you can be raped. Even people get shot, people get murdered, people get kidnapped. You want to make sure that people know where you are at every given point in time, such that if anything goes wrong, somebody is in the know. You take a taxi, an Uber, you take an Uber, you take a Taxify, or whatever the case may be. Share your ride with someone, so that they can monitor your movement. If you're taking like a regular yellow cab or whatever, take a picture of the plate number, so that you send it to people that you trust. If anything happens, they know where to trace you. They know in whose care or in whose custody you are supposed to be in, all of that. Then you somebody asks you out, and this is like, for a lady, somebody asks you out, wherever, church, your environment, home, school, wherever, somebody is asking you out. Regardless of how you respond to that person, you want to ensure that somebody else knows that person asked you out. I mean, so you want to bask in the euphoria, somebody is asking you out, please tell somebody. Because I've seen some people actually give these things as reasons for perpetrating rape. I asked her out and she did not accept, so I want to rape her. Or I asked her out and she responded to me in a very rude manner, so I raped her. Let people know, so that if you are saying it tomorrow, you have people that have your back, that say, yes, it is true, this person asked her out, and this is, so you just make it easy. Then in the event that you do get raped, God forbid, but if you do get raped, you do not want to sleep on the evidence that you can gather, because you know how hostile our system can be. So make sure that you go to the hospital. You should be given a rape kit where evidence can be gathered to hopefully get out the rapist. Go to the hospital. Don't clean up. It's hard but don't clean up, go to the hospital, then you can now go to the police station. So to be honest, the issue of rape is very, very expansive. It is very, very vast, because it is very tricky. It's and then it's also a crime that that is done in secrecy, and also what's the word now, hopes that the victim also keeps quiet. So I cannot extensively talk about rape, but I hope that I've been able to enlighten you a little about what rape is, and how you also know that for there to be a claim of rape, there has to be penetration and absence of consent. At least if you're not taking anything away from this video, you should take that away, that just because somebody touched you inappropriately, in fact, even if they use their fingers for whatever, for all intents and purposes, it cannot amount to rape until there has been penetration with their instrument. You know what a man's instrument is. I cannot start saying it. Women don't have men's instruments, so it has to be with a man's instrument. So I hope that with time, because is a social and cultural issue. In fact, I think it's also a religious issue that cannot completely be whisked away, but by talking about it, we create awareness. People who have suffered from it can also talk about it, and then also taking precaution. Maybe even people who are predisposed to this type of behavior can also take note that, okay, people are beginning to become aware of my actions, so I have to be very careful, hopefully. But we'll try and do the best that we can do. Thank you.